The silver ship came down from the sky on a Tuesday morning. It landed in the middle of a field outside Seoul, South Korea. The ship was beautiful and strange, with smooth curves and no visible engines. It made no sound as it touched the ground. Hyun-soo stepped out first. He looked almost human, but his skin had a blue tint and his eyes were too large. He wore a uniform that seemed to be made of liquid metal. Behind him came Bo-ram, who was not human at all. She looked like a walking crystal, clear and bright, with light moving inside her body. Last came Tae-jin, who was tall and muscular with 4 arms and skin like stone. They were from the Galactic Federation. This was a group of alien races that worked together across the stars. They had been watching Earth for many years, waiting for humans to invent faster-than-light communication. 3 months ago, humans had finally done it. Now it was time for first contact. Hyun-soo was the team leader. He came from the Vorthon Empire, a race that lived mostly in computers and machines. Bo-ram was from the Nethri Collective, beings made of living crystal who shared thoughts with each other. Tae-jin was from the Corvan Republic, a warrior race that loved fighting and honor. The 3 aliens had done this job many times before. They would visit new species and decide if they were ready to join the Federation. It was always the same process. First, they would study the new species' military power. Then, they would meet their greatest warriors. Finally, they would decide what rank to give the new species in the Federation's army. Every species had warriors. Every species kept track of how many enemies their fighters had killed. This was basic to all intelligent life. The Corvan carved notches in their weapons for each kill. The Vorthon kept digital records of every enemy destroyed. The Nethri trapped the souls of defeated foes in crystal prisons. It was how you measured a warrior's worth. Hyun-soo checked his equipment as Earth's military surrounded their landing site. Human soldiers pointed weapons at them, but the aliens were not worried. These weapons looked primitive. The humans seemed weak and small. Their technology was thousands of years behind the Federation standard. "Remember the mission," Hyun-soo said to his team. "We assess their military capability. We document their warrior culture. We meet their greatest fighters. Then we assign them a rank in the Federation Army." Bo-ram's crystal body flashed with colors. This was how her people showed agreement. Based on initial scans, these humans appear to be a young species. Their weapons use chemical explosives. Very primitive. They probably have simple warrior traditions. Tae-jin flexed his 4 arms. "Good. I am curious to meet their champions. Perhaps they will provide some entertainment before we classify them as a minor species." The human soldiers were talking into radios. More vehicles arrived. Soon there were hundreds of humans surrounding the alien ship. They all looked nervous and excited. Some were taking pictures. Others were pointing scientific instruments at the aliens. A man in a fancy uniform walked forward. He had many medals on his chest and gray hair. Behind him came a woman with a briefcase and several other humans in suits. "Welcome to Earth," the military man said. "I am General Woo Jin of the Republic of Korea Armed Forces. On behalf of the United Nations, we greet you in peace." Hyun-soo activated his translation device. The words came out in perfect Korean, then English, then several other Earth languages. "We are representatives of the Galactic Federation. I am Commander Hyun-soo. We come to evaluate your species for membership in our organization." The general looked surprised but pleased. "That is wonderful news. We have prepared a facility for you in Seoul. Our best people are waiting to meet with you. Excellent, Hyun-soo said. We will need to interview your greatest warriors. Please prepare a list of your species' most accomplished fighters. We need their kill tallies and battle records. The general paused. He looked confused. Kill tallies? Yes, Bo-Ram said, her crystal form brightening. The number of enemies each warrior has personally eliminated in combat. This is standard information for all military assessments. The woman with the briefcase stepped forward. I am Dr. Yoonji, Minister of Science and Technology. Perhaps there is a translation error. When you say kill tallies, you mean combat effectiveness ratings? Mission success rates? Tae-jin laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. No, small human. We mean kills, dead enemies. How many beings has each warrior personally slain? This is how all species measure their fighters' worth. The humans looked at each other. General Woo Jin spoke quietly to Dr. Yoonji. She nodded and turned back to the aliens. We can arrange meetings with our military personnel, she said carefully, but our record-keeping system might be different from what you expect. Perhaps you could explain more about what you need? Hyun-soo was starting to feel impatient. This was taking too long. Usually, new species were eager to show off their greatest warriors. They would bring forward champions covered in scars, wearing trophies from defeated enemies. These humans seemed strangely reluctant. The process is simple, he explained. You bring us your warrior with the highest kill count. We document their achievements. We compare this to galactic standards. Based on this data, we determine your species' military rank in the Federation. And if our rank is high? General Woo Jin asked. High-ranking species receive better territory, more resources, and leadership positions in Federation military operations, Bo-Ram explained. Low-ranking species serve as support troops or laborers. And if we refuse to join? Dr. Yoonji asked quietly. The three aliens looked at each other. This was an unusual question. No species had ever refused Federation membership. That would be unwise, Tae-jin said, his stone skin darkening. Species that remain outside the Federation are considered hostile. They are dealt with accordingly. The threat was clear. The humans had no choice but to cooperate. General Woo Jin nodded slowly. We understand. We will arrange for you to meet with our military personnel. Please follow us to Seoul. We have prepared accommodations for you. As they traveled to the city, Hyun-soo felt confident about the mission. These humans seemed peaceful and cooperative. They would probably rank as a minor species, useful for labor or support roles. Their warriors could not be very impressive. If the humans were so reluctant to discuss them, he had no idea how wrong he was about to be. The meeting room in Seoul was plain and white. There was a long table with chairs on both sides. The three aliens sat on one side, their recording equipment spread out before them. On the other side sat a single human man. Dong-woo was 63 years old. His hair was gray and thin. His face had many lines and scars. He wore a simple green uniform with ribbons and medals on his chest. He sat straight, but looked tired. General Woo Jin had introduced him as South Korea's most decorated veteran. He had served in the military for 30 years. He had been in wars in many different countries. He had received every medal his country could give. Hyun-soo looked at the human with disappointment. Dong-woo was small and old. He had no visible weapons. His muscles were not large. There were no trophies from defeated enemies. He did not look like a great warrior at all. State your name and rank, Hyun-soo said, starting his recording device. Dong-woo Kim. Gunnery Sergeant retired. Republic of Korea Marine Corps, the human answered. His voice was quiet and steady. Bo-Ram's crystal body flashed as she scanned the human. We detect old injuries, broken bones that healed, scar tissue, chemical traces of explosive exposure. This one has seen combat. Tae-jin leaned forward. Among his people, scars were signs of honor. Good. Now tell us your kill tally, warrior Dong-woo. The human's face changed. He looked uncomfortable. He shifted in his chair and looked down at his hands. We don't really keep track like that, he said quietly. Hyun-soo blinked his large eyes. Explain. All warrior species maintain kill counts. How else do you measure success in battle? Dong-woo rubbed his forehead. We measure other things. Missions completed, objectives taken, people saved, territory secured, whether our unit came home alive. Bo-Ram's colors shifted to confusion. But how do you rank your warriors without kill tallies? How do you know who is the best fighter? Being a good soldier isn't about killing, Dong-woo said. It's about protecting people, following orders, working with your team, getting the job done. Tae-jin slammed one of his 4 hands on the table. The sound was loud in the quiet room. Nonsense! A warrior's worth is measured by defeated enemies. This is universal law. Dong-woo looked at the alien calmly. Maybe for you, not for us. Hyun-soo tried a different approach. Your records show participation in multiple conflicts. The Vietnam War, the Gulf War, Afghanistan, Iraq, Somalia. You must have eliminated enemy combatants. Yes, Dong-woo said, softly. Some. How many? Bo-Ram asked, her crystal form brightening with interest. Dong-woo was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was even quieter than before. I don't know. Maybe a few dozen. Maybe more. I try not to think about it. The 3 aliens stared at him. This made no sense. Any Corvan warrior would know their exact kill count. They would be proud of it. They would tell stories about each victory. You try not to think about it, Tae-jin asked. These were your greatest achievements. Dong-woo looked up at the alien. His eyes were sad. No, they were people. Sons and daughters, fathers and mothers. They had families waiting for them to come home. They were enemies, Hyun-soo said. Obstacles to be removed, threats to be eliminated. They were human beings, Dong-woo replied. Just like me. Most of them were probably good people fighting for what they believed in. Just like me. Bo-Ram tried to process this information. In her culture, defeated enemies became part of the crystal network. Their knowledge and skills were absorbed by the victors. There was no sadness, only growth. But you chose to eliminate them, she said. This was your decision. Dong-woo shook his head. I chose to protect my friends. I chose to complete my mission. I chose to follow orders. If killing was necessary, I did it. But I never chose to kill. Tae-jin stood up, frustrated. This is ridiculous. You cannot have a warrior culture without celebrating victory in combat. We don't celebrate war, Dong-woo said. We remember it. We honor the dead on both sides. We try to learn from it so we don't have to do it again. Hyun-soo looked at his notes. Nothing the human was saying matched standard patterns. Every warrior species had rituals around combat. They had ceremonies for successful kills. They had trophies and rewards for their greatest fighters. Show us your weapons, he demanded. Your trophies. The items you took from defeated enemies. Dong-woo looked confused. I don't have any trophies. We don't take things from dead soldiers. What about your weapons? Boram asked. Surely you keep the tools of your victories. I turned in my rifle when I retired, Dongwu said. It belonged to the military, not to me. Taejin could not believe what he was hearing. Among the Corvan, warriors kept their weapons until death. They were passed down to children and grandchildren. They were sacred objects. What do you do now? Hyunsu asked. How do you use your warrior skills? Dongwu smiled for the first time since entering the room. I work with veterans who have problems, soldiers who can't sleep, who have nightmares, who can't forget what they saw in war. I help them find peace. You help weak warriors? Taejin asked. In his culture, weak warriors were cast out or killed. I help hurt people, Dongwu corrected. War hurts everyone who fights in it, the strong and the weak, the winners and the losers. Boram's crystal form dimmed. But you won your battles. You survived. You should be proud. Dongwu was quiet again. When he spoke, his words confused the aliens even more. I survived because I was lucky. Good soldiers died next to me. Better people than me didn't come home. How can I be proud of that? Hyunsu looked at his team. This interview was not going as planned. The human claimed to be a great warrior, but he acted ashamed of his achievements. He refused to give specific kill counts. He showed no pride in his victories. One more question, Hyunsu said. If you were to estimate your kill tally, what would it be? Dongwu stared at the table for a long time. His hands shook slightly. When he looked up, there was pain in his eyes. 37, he whispered. I remember all their faces. The aliens sat in silence. 37 kills was respectable for a single warrior, but the way this human spoke about it was wrong. He acted like it was a burden, not an achievement. Thank you for your time, Hyunsu said finally. We may have more questions later. Dongwu stood up slowly. As he reached the door, he turned back. I hope you find what you're looking for, he said. But I hope you never have to count the way we do. After he left, the three aliens looked at each other in confusion. They had never met a warrior like this before. 3 days had passed since the strange interview with Dongwu. The aliens were getting frustrated. They had demanded access to Earth's military databases, but the humans kept giving them incomplete information. These records make no sense, Hyunsu said, staring at his computer screen. They list battles and casualties, but no individual kill counts for warriors. Boram was processing data from multiple sources. Her crystal form flickered with different colors as information flowed through her mind. I have found references to confirmed kills in some files, but the numbers are scattered and often classified. Taejin paced around their temporary office in Seoul. His 4 arms moved restlessly. The humans are hiding something. Their greatest warriors must be kept secret. Perhaps they have super soldiers or enhanced fighters. General Wu Jin had arranged meetings with different military personnel. They had spoken with colonels and majors and captains. They had interviewed special forces soldiers and pilots and naval officers. Every conversation had been the same strange experience. The humans all seemed uncomfortable talking about killing. They spoke about tactics and strategy and teamwork. They talked about protecting civilians and completing missions, but none of them wanted to give specific kill numbers. Request another meeting, Hyunsu ordered. Tell them we need to see their most lethal individuals, their assassins, their specialists. Dr. Yoonji arrived that afternoon with a new list of people. These are some of our most skilled soldiers, she said carefully. But I must warn you, they may not respond the way you expect. The first person they brought was a woman named Su Jin. She was small and quiet, with short black hair and tired eyes. She worked as a translator for the United Nations. Su Jin was a sniper, Dr. Yunji explained. She served in multiple peacekeeping operations around the world. Hyun-Soo activated his recording device. "State your kill tally, Warrior Su Jin." The woman looked surprised. "Kill tally? I don't like talking about that." "How many enemies have you eliminated?" Bo-Ram asked, her crystal form brightening. Su Jin was quiet for a moment. 62 confirmed, maybe more that I couldn't verify. Tae-jin leaned forward with interest. 62 kills with long-range weapons. This is respectable for a small human. Tell us about your greatest victory. Su Jin's face went pale. Greatest victory? They weren't victories, they were just necessary. Describe your most impressive elimination, Hyun-Soo pressed. Su Jin stood up suddenly. I can't do this, I'm sorry. She left the room quickly. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. 62 kills was a significant achievement, but the human acted like it was something shameful. The next person was a man named Min-ho. He was tall and muscular with scars on his hands and face. He worked as a security guard for a bank. Min-ho was an explosive specialist, Dr. Yunji said. He disabled bombs and cleared dangerous areas. How many enemies did you kill with explosives? Tae-jin asked immediately. Min-ho looked uncomfortable. I didn't kill people with explosives. I saved people by removing explosives. But you must have eliminated bomb makers, terrorists, enemy soldiers, Bo-Ram insisted. Sometimes, Min-ho admitted, when there was no other choice. How many? Hyun-Soo demanded. Min-ho was quiet for a long time. I don't count. I try to forget. Another dead end. The aliens were starting to suspect that humans had a mental problem. Maybe their brains could not handle the stress of combat. Maybe that was why they acted so strange about killing. The third person surprised them. His name was Young-ho, and he looked completely normal. He was average height with friendly eyes and calloused hands. He wore simple work clothes and had paint under his fingernails. Young-ho is a carpenter, Dr. Yunji said. He builds furniture and repairs houses. Tae-jin looked annoyed. Why are you wasting our time with a craftsman? We need warriors. Dr. Yunji smiled sadly. Young-ho was also a sniper. One of the best we ever had. The aliens looked at the quiet man with new interest. He did not look like a killer at all. State your kill tally, Hyun-Soo ordered. Young-ho continued working on a small wooden toy he was carving. 214 confirmed kills, he said softly. Probably more. The room went silent. This was a serious number. Among the Corvin, a warrior with over 200 kills would be considered a champion. 214, Tae-jin repeated with respect. This is impressive for such a small human. You must be highly honored among your people. Young-ho looked up from his carving. Honored? No. Most people don't know. I don't tell them. Why not? Bo-Ram asked. Such achievements should be celebrated. Young-ho's hands stopped moving. Because every number was a person. Every person had a family, a mother who loved them, friends who missed them, dreams they'll never achieve. They were enemies, Hyun-Soo pointed out. Obstacles to your mission. They were human beings, Young-ho said, echoing Dongwoo's words. Just like me. Most of them were probably good people fighting for their country. Just like I was. Tae-jin could not understand this thinking. But you chose to eliminate them. You could have refused, Young-ho shook his head. I chose to protect my friends. I chose to complete my mission. The killing was just the price. What price? Boram asked. Young-ho held up the wooden toy. It was a small horse, beautifully carved. I make toys now, children's toys. I try to create things instead of destroying them. I try to balance the scales. You feel guilt for your victories? Hyun-soo asked. I feel responsible for my choices, Young-ho corrected. Every shot I took was my decision. Every life that ended was on me. I have to live with that. But you were successful, Tae-jin insisted. You completed your missions. You served your people well. Young-ho looked at the alien with sad eyes. Success in war isn't really success. It's just surviving something terrible. The real victory would have been finding a way to solve the problem without killing anyone. The aliens left that meeting feeling more confused than ever. Young-ho had the highest kill count they had documented so far, but he acted like it was a tragedy rather than an achievement. That evening, they met in their hotel room to discuss what they had learned. These humans have a serious mental defect, Tae-jin declared. They cannot properly process combat success. This explains their low military ranking. I disagree, Boram said, her crystal form shifting colors as she thought. Their emotional responses are consistent across all individuals. This suggests a cultural pattern, not individual defects. Hyun-soo was studying the data they had collected. We need more information. Request access to their historical military records. Perhaps their greatest warriors are from the past. And request a meeting with their current military leaders, Tae-jin added. Surely the humans in command positions will have proper warrior attitudes. None of them realized they were about to discover something that would change their understanding of warfare forever. The historical database was massive. Dr. Yoon-ji had given the aliens access to humanity's complete military records going back thousands of years. What they found made them question everything they thought they knew about warfare. Hyun-soo stared at his screen in disbelief. These casualty numbers cannot be correct. World War II, 60 million dead in 6 years? This is impossible. Boram was processing multiple data streams at once. Her crystal form was flickering rapidly between different colors. Cross-referencing. With multiple sources, the numbers are consistent. 65 million casualties across all combatants. Tae-jin had stopped pacing. He stood perfectly still, looking at his own display. The Battle of Stalingrad alone, 2 million casualties. The Mongol conquests, 40 million dead. How is this possible? The aliens had studied warfare across the galaxy for centuries. The largest battle in Corvan history had involved 50,000 warriors and lasted 3 days. The Vorthon's biggest cyber war had eliminated 12,000 enemy programs. The Nethri's greatest crystal battle had absorbed the minds of 8,000 opponents. But human conflicts involved millions of casualties. Wars that lasted for years. Battles that consumed entire continents. Perhaps their record-keeping is wrong, Tae-jin suggested. Primitive species often exaggerate their achievements. No, Boram said, her colors shifting to certainty. I have verified the data through multiple independent sources, archaeological evidence, chemical analysis of battlefields, DNA studies of mass graves. The numbers are accurate. Dr. Yoon-ji had arranged for them to meet with Soo-jin, a military historian from Seoul National University. She was a small woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes. She specialized in studying human warfare. You wanted to understand our military history, Soo-jin said, settling into her chair. Where would you like to start? Explain how humans achieved such massive casualty numbers, Hyun-Soo demanded. Your species appears physically weak. Your individual warriors have low kill counts. How did you eliminate millions of beings? Soo-jin smiled sadly. We got very good at killing efficiently. We learned to kill at a distance. We learned to kill many people at once. We learned to kill without seeing our enemies' faces. She pulled out a tablet and showed them images. The first was a photograph of a mushroom cloud rising over a city. This is Hiroshima, 1945. One bomb dropped from one airplane. 80,000 people died instantly. Another 60,000 died later from radiation poisoning. The aliens stared at the image in shock. One weapon had eliminated more beings than some of their entire species had killed in their whole history. One bomb? Tae-jin whispered. One warrior achieved 140,000 kills with a single attack? The pilot who dropped the bomb was named Jin-soo, Soo-jin said. He was just following orders. He probably never thought of it as his personal kill count. Boram's crystal form was flashing rapidly. Show us more. Soo-jin changed the image. Now, they saw a battlefield covered in green fog. Soldiers were lying on the ground, their faces twisted in pain. Chemical weapons, World War I. We learned to make poison gas that could kill thousands of people at once. We could eliminate entire armies without seeing them die. Another image appeared. This one showed endless rows of bombed buildings. Nothing was left but rubble and smoke. Strategic bombing. We learned to destroy entire cities from the sky. Dresden, Tokyo, London, Berlin. We could kill civilians by the hundreds of thousands without ever landing on the ground. Hyun-soo felt sick. But who gets credit for these kills? Which warriors claimed these victories? Soo-jin looked at him strangely. No one claims them as victories. These are some of the darkest moments in our history. We study them to make sure they never happen again. But the pilots, the soldiers, the leaders who ordered these attacks, Tae-jin pressed. Surely they are celebrated as great warriors. Soo-jin shook her head. Most of them are forgotten. Some are remembered as war criminals. The leaders who ordered the worst attacks are considered monsters by history. She showed them more images. Concentration camps where millions had been murdered, chemical weapons that killed entire villages, nuclear tests that poisoned islands for decades. You want to know about our greatest killers? Soo-jin asked. They're not soldiers. They're politicians who ordered genocides, scientists who invented terrible weapons, engineers who designed more efficient ways to murder people. And these individuals are your greatest warriors? Boram asked. No, Soo-jin said firmly. They're our greatest failures. We teach children about them so they understand why war is terrible, why we must work for peace. The aliens were struggling to understand. In every other species they had studied, great killers were heroes. They were celebrated and honored. They received mates and territory and status. Show us your current military capabilities, Hyun-soo demanded. Your modern weapons, Soo-jin hesitated. Are you sure? Some of this information is disturbing. Show us, Tae-jin ordered. Soo-jin pulled up new data. She showed them intercontinental ballistic missiles that could travel halfway around the world, nuclear submarines that could destroy entire continents, biological weapons that could kill every living thing on the planet. This is one nuclear submarine, she explained, pointing to an image. It carries enough nuclear missiles to eliminate 200 million people. The crew is only 150 sailors. 150 warriors could achieve 200 million kills, Hyun-soo asked in disbelief. If they launched all their missiles, yes. But they would never do it. The weapons exist to prevent war, not to fight it. Boram was processing the implications. Your species has weapons that could eliminate billions of beings, but you choose not to use them? We learned what happens when we use such weapons, Sujin said. We almost destroyed ourselves. Now we work very hard to make sure it never happens again. She showed them one final image. It was a photograph of Earth taken from space. The planet looked beautiful and blue and peaceful. This is what we're really fighting to protect, Sujin said. Not territory or resources or glory, just the chance for our children to grow up in a world without war. The aliens sat in silence for a long time. They were beginning to understand something that terrified them. Your greatest warriors, Yonsu said slowly, are not individuals. They are groups, teams, entire military organizations. And your highest kill counts, Boram added, belong to people who never fired a shot, leaders who made decisions, scientists who created weapons. And you consider these people to be criminals, not heroes, Taejin finished. Sujin nodded. The people with the highest body counts in human history are not remembered as great warriors. They're remembered as cautionary tales. We study them to understand how good people can make terrible choices when they're afraid. As the aliens left the university, they were quiet. They had found the answer to their question about human warriors, but the answer was more disturbing than anything they had ever discovered. Humans were not a primitive species with weak fighters. They were a species that had become so efficient at killing that they had to evolve beyond celebrating it just to survive. The three aliens sat in their hotel room, staring at the data they had collected. None of them spoke for a long time. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. Finally, Hyun-Soo broke the quiet. We need to contact the Federation Council. This changes everything. Boram's crystal form was dim, almost gray. She had been processing the human data for hours, and what she found kept getting worse. I have calculated the theoretical kill count for a single human leader during World War II. If we assign responsibility for military decisions to individuals, some humans achieved kill counts in the millions. Taejin had not moved from his chair in 2 hours. His stone-like skin had turned almost black with shock. A single human could be responsible for more deaths than my entire species has achieved in our entire history. They had requested one final meeting. This time, they wanted to speak with someone who could explain how humans thought about their most effective killers. Dr. Yunji had arranged for them to meet with Min-Soo, a philosophy professor who specialized in studying human ethics and warfare. Min-Soo was a thoughtful man with kind eyes and gentle hands. He taught at Yonsei University and had written many books about peace and justice. When he arrived at their hotel, he brought tea and spoke softly. You want to understand how we think about our capacity for violence, Min-Soo said, pouring tea for everyone. This is a difficult conversation, but an important one. We want to understand your greatest warriors, Hyun-Soo said. The humans with the highest kill counts. How do you measure their achievements? Min-Soo sipped his tea slowly. That's the wrong question. You're thinking like conquerors, not like humans who have learned from their mistakes. Explain, Boram requested, her crystal form flickering with confusion. You want to know who killed the most people, Min-Soo said. But we've learned that this is the wrong way to think about warfare. The people who killed the most weren't our greatest warriors. They were our greatest failures. Taejin leaned forward. But they were successful. They achieved massive kill counts. They dominated their enemies. Minsu shook his head. Success in killing is not success in being human. Let me give you an example. There was a man named Seung Ho who worked in our military during World War II. He was very good at calculating bombing patterns. His mathematics helped kill maybe 500,000 people in Japanese cities. This Seung Ho was clearly a great warrior, Hyun-soo said. No, Min-soo replied firmly. Seung Ho spent the rest of his life working for peace. He said that his mathematics had created more suffering than anything else he ever did. He used his remaining years trying to make up for those deaths. Boram processed this information. But he was efficient. He achieved his military objectives. He was efficient at killing, Min-soo agreed. But he was a failure at being human. The mark of a great human is not how many people they can kill, but how many people they can save. The professor pulled out a tablet and showed them pictures. These are the humans we actually celebrate. This woman saved 2,500 Jewish children during the Holocaust. This man prevented a nuclear war by refusing to launch missiles when his computer told him to. This woman negotiated peace treaties that ended conflicts without violence. Tae-jin stared at the images. But they have no kill counts at all. Exactly, Min-soo said. They achieved victory without killing. They solved problems without violence. This is what we consider true strength. The aliens looked at each other. This was completely opposite to everything they understood about warrior culture. But surely you must honor your most effective killers in some way, Hyun-soo insisted. Min-soo was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was sad. We remember them, but not as heroes. We remember them as warnings. We study them to understand how normal people can become monsters when they're afraid or angry or convinced they're doing the right thing. He showed them more data. The humans with the highest kill counts in our history are mostly political leaders who ordered mass murders, military commanders who used terrible weapons against civilians, scientists who created new ways to kill efficiently. And these are not celebrated? Boram asked. They are studied, Min-soo said. We teach children about them in school, not to glorify them, but to make sure it never happens again. We say, never forget, not because we're proud of what happened, but because we're ashamed of it. Tae-jin was struggling to understand. But how do you measure military strength without kill counts? Min-soo smiled sadly. We measure it by how much killing we can avoid. Our best generals are the ones who win without fighting. Our greatest warriors are peacekeepers who stop violence before it starts. He pulled out one final image. It showed a massive mushroom cloud rising over a desert. This is a hydrogen bomb test, Min-soo explained. One weapon like this could kill 10 million people instantly. We have thousands of these weapons, but their real purpose is to make sure we never have to use them. You build weapons you hope never to use? Hyun-soo asked. The weapons exist to prevent war, Min-soo said. When everyone has the power to destroy everyone else, no one wants to fight. It's called mutually assured destruction. We stay at peace because we're all too dangerous to risk going to war. Boram's crystal form brightened with understanding. You have evolved beyond celebrating violence because you became too efficient at it. Yes, Min-soo said. We learned that the ultimate victory in war is not to fight at all. The greatest warrior is someone who never has to kill anyone. The aliens sat in stunned silence. They had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive species with simple warrior traditions. Instead, they had discovered a species that had transcended. the need for traditional warfare by becoming too dangerous to themselves. "What should we tell the Federation Council?" Hyun-soo asked quietly. Min-soo looked at him seriously. "Tell them that humans don't keep kill tallies because the numbers would be too terrible to bear. Tell them we've learned that true strength comes from choosing not to kill, even when you have the power to destroy everything." After Min-soo left, the three aliens prepared their report for the Federation Council. It was unlike any assessment they had ever written. Species designation, human, Hyun-soo dictated. Military capability, extreme. Individual kill counts, not applicable due to species having evolved beyond individual combat metrics. Recommendation, Boram added. Immediate acceptance into Federation with full membership status. Warning, this species has weapons capable of planetary destruction, but chooses not to use them. They represent the most advanced warrior culture we have encountered. Additional note, Tae-jin said slowly. Humans have achieved the ultimate warrior goal. They have become so powerful that they no longer need to fight. They have won the only war that really matters, the war against their own violent nature. Ennua. Their ship prepared to leave Earth. Hyun-soo looked back at the blue planet. He thought about all the humans they had met. Dong-woo with his 37 remembered faces, Young-ho making toys to balance the scales, Soo-jin teaching about the horrors of war so they wouldn't happen again. These humans had achieved something no other species in the galaxy had managed. They had become so good at killing that they had learned to stop. That, Hyun-soo realized, was the most frightening and impressive thing he had ever encountered.